Information tonight. The West Fargo City Commission has just voted to allow people to keep backyard chickens. The ordinance will allow up to 6 chickens as long as residents get an annual permit. If you want to have chickens, you'll be responsible for notifying your neighbors about it. Coops can't be in your front yard, and the chickens have to remain in the coop at all times. City commissioners say police will not respond to chicken issues. If there's a problem, it has to be taken up with city code enforcement officials. People in Fargo, Moorhead, and Horace are already allowed to keep chickens. You can read that full ordinance on your VNL News app. Just click on this story.